Welcome to Keeping It Real with Jenn Godfrey.
A conservative person might say everyone has a right to own a firearm because I'm going to use it for defense. Whereas certain other political factions will say you shouldn't have a gun because they're used to kill. And therein lies the split in how the perception of the firearm is used. One is used for defense, one is used to kill. And I think that's more an internal projection of what they would use it for than more than anything of what I expect to use it for. And because of that, I think that's where I've met a lot of people that you'll start to have an honest conversation like, I don't know if I can control myself if I had a gun. Okay, then you probably shouldn't.
You shouldn't have one.
But
Yeah, for sure. If you have road rage or you're one of
yeah.
those people, like you should
Now,
not have
to
one.
that end, I will say that Dave with a gun and Dave without a gun are two slightly different personalities. They're more or less the same anymore because Dave without a gun is sleeping. But I've met people that will say that they're actually less confrontational when they're carrying because the stakes have changed, and that there's another layer of responsibility within possessing a firearm on your person that now all of a sudden you have to make an effort to de-escalate because you know that it can get to a point where you may actually have to use it. And you really don't want to do that. I mean,
I think the mentality that for me personally, was always taught, if you're going to carry, you better have a reason to. Like, so for me, like I'm on a horse, I'm doing something, or putting myself in a position. And I will say, moving to Arizona, I felt like I wanted to carry here more than I have anywhere else I've ever lived, just because it's so spread out. Well, it's so spread out. You have to drive so far.
Everything here's trying to kill you.
Yeah. Well, yes. And
Even the plant life has defenses.
It does. I have, and then we have kids. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's 112, 115 degrees out. If my car breaks down, I'm on the side of the road by myself and I'm in BFE basically because you have to drive, and people think, oh, the valley. And it's like, yeah, but the valley could be highly populated right here. And then you have to drive through like this.
Go take the beeline highway for a little bit and see how many times you spot other people.
I know. I'm like, this is not yet. So yeah, I definitely feel more so here. Like I want to carry just because there's we're a border state too. So there's a lot more traffic here. But anyways.
We found that out because our last house was in Sierra Vista, which is, I could actually see the Mexico border from my back patio.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, we did have an instance where someone walked in the door and we were out in the middle of nowhere and I was not home. And that was when my wife discovered that she needed to practice more because someone walked in the house. She went for a gun and fortunately the guy ran, but she was so panic stricken because, there's just man's in the house. I'm 45 minutes drive away.
Yeah.
We're out in the middle of nowhere and we have a baby in the house. What's going to happen? So at that point, you have to start making decisions for yourself on when does your safety begin and when does it end? And unfortunately, it doesn't always end, and that's kind of a judgment call that you have to make. And to call back to your point when you mentioned that if you're going to carry, you should have a reason. It's easy for people to find reasons because just look around, Arizona, you've got two-legged problems, you've got four-legged problems. Obviously there's no point in shooting a cactus, but that's another problem. You probably don't want to fall into it. Don't shoot cactus either, by the way. That's bad. But at some point, you decide that my routine involves this. You leave the house with your phone, your wallet, your keys, and your everyday carry. Your everyday carry should always be in the same condition. So that way you don't have to think, do I have to chamber around? Do I not have to chamber around? Is it ready to go? Where is it? Do I have to go through 3 layers versus 2 layers to get to it? But you have to kind of set the tone for this is my routine. This is how life is. And it becomes kind of just a mundane habit after a while. But in the back of your head, you're always thinking the same thing. You have your safety fundamentals. You're watching for where your comings and goings are around you. Some people might call that paranoia, hypervigilance. Awareness is just what I refer to it as.
Yeah.
Because, in your case, my wife had this problem a lot during COVID. She went grocery shopping one time and it was her and the kid. And that was when people were like fighting over bottles of water. And
I remember that. And Costco was like running out. They had like a limit where they were only letting people get one thing of toilet paper at a time.
So we had a newborn at the time. So, you have to have that baby water for the formula that has no fluoride in it.
Yeah.
So she was going crazy looking for that water. And she found that like people were just grabbing that as regular water bottles. And she would have to like haggle with people to like get them to like not take the baby water because you need that for the baby formula.
Yeah.
And so she would watch people fight over groceries and whatnot in the grocery store. So she gets out to the vehicle to start loading up her groceries. My wife does open carry. She zero care whatsoever. She will open carry where she will. And at the time, she used to open carry in a shoulder holster, like kind of like
Yeah.
Miami Vice style.
Yeah.
And as she was approaching her vehicle to start loading the groceries in, some gentleman walked up to her and goes, "Oh, look, I found a cart full of groceries." And my wife kind of politely said, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "I found a cart full of groceries." And she goes, "Oh, okay." And went to go put her arms up to start grabbing more of the groceries out and presents that there's this, you
Mhm.
know, huge huge semi-auto hanging from her shoulder holster. And he was like, and that was the end of the conversation. But it set the tone for a lot of how we went out in public after that, because we realized that people were willing to get savage over bottled water and lettuce. And, at that point, it's like, okay, we need to take certain measures to
Yeah.
protect ourselves. Cause, again, we had a newborn. My other kids were like 6 and 8 years old.
Okay.
And so, or actually probably younger, but yeah, whatever the case, they were tiny, little people. And,
Fair.
how
Yeah.
do you protect that? I'm at work. She's getting groceries, doing errands, going to hospitals to take care of bills or not bills, but like medical stuff. So, it changed how we had to just conduct ourselves in general public, because we knew that, people will go feral real quickly. I used to joke that it's only a long power outage away from everyone reverting back to their primal selves. Turns out it just takes Amazon Prime to take more days than usual to deliver things that everyone starts losing their minds. But
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot of, controversy, there's a lot of, opinions, and I think
oh yeah,
there's always been opinions, and that's fine. I
as
mean,
thinking people, we should have opinions.
yeah, and I think it's good that everybody can come to a table, talk about it. I definitely think it's even more important, like, that you're here talking about you can't just go the average person, unless you're going on the black market or something,
Hmm.
cannot just walk up to you and say, "Hey, I wanna buy a gun." I mean, there is a process and
They,
they
I
can
mean,
say that, but
I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that you, and I've had people call me up and they say, what's involved in the background check? I'm like, you fill out this paperwork. Well, what if I get denied?
you
Are
won't
you
get it.
worried you'll get denied? Well, I don't know. I've never done this before. Well, okay. Well, have you done any of these things? Well, no. Do you even have a parking ticket? No. Then don't worry about it. But just fill out the paperwork. Calm down.
I think it's almost more scary. Okay, so this is what I'm just gonna say it
Yeah.
too. Like, I do think that so many people are very concerned. So there are instances, and I even have like family members that have done this where they were wearing a Trump hat or something, and they're like, "Oh, but don't tell anybody I have this on, because I don't want anybody at my job to know that I'm wearing something like this," or, "Oh, take that picture down," or "Don't post this." And they're so
Yeah.
concerned about what other people think.
Yeah.
And I just think to myself, nobody really freaking cares. The
Is
only
this going to be
people
the
that
photo that
the
CNN
o
uses on my
yeah,
newspaper?
the only people that really care are, like, keyboard warriors and people that are
Mhm.
really just, like, so negative, you don't want them in your life anyways, like, because I have friends that are on so many different levels. I have friends that are independent, I have friends that
Mhm.
don't even wanna vote now, I have friends that are, this way, that way, whatever. I really don't care. I just care about people being
Yeah.
nice, having common sense, being courteous, and I really care when people come around
The
me.
pre 9/11
Yeah,
days.
just, like, be cool in front of my kids too. Like, I really don't
Mhm.
care if you're even this way or that way. If you wanna go smoke crack in your car, which I hope you don't do, but, like, just don't come into my home around my kids and do that stuff too. Like, that's really what I care about, is
Yeah.
just being around people that are good humans, right?
Mhm.
So, but I do think there's a very big misconception that if people maybe are liberal or they're conservative and then they're filling out this paperwork, they don't want somebody else to find out. And that's so crazy to me. It's like
What is the
people
government gonna know?
or no, it's not even that. Or like, oh, is
Yeah.
this person like, I have friends even
Mhm.
now that'll say, Jen, I just want you to know, like, I think it's really cool that you're doing X, Y, and Z, but like, don't tell anybody I told you that. And I'm like, well, number one, who would I tell? And number two, like,
Our friend
you're
circles don't
you're
cross.
you're like you're 45 years old, and or like, I have friends too. Another one, I have so many friends that just tell me, and it's
Concerned about their image.
yeah, exactly. They're like, "Oh, well, I smoke weed, but, like, please don't tell so and so because I don't want her to know." And I'm like going, why does that care? Why do you care?
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? Like, so I really think that so much of it is like this social status of like, okay, well,
Mhm.
I don't want people to know, or like, oh, I do support you, but I really don't support you. Or like, I
Yeah.
don't want to like your content, or I don't want to show support to this because that means that people will know that I
Oh,
actually
yeah.
care, but I'm going to watch every single story of yours. Or on the side, I'll send you a DM showing, but I'm not going to
Mhm.
show you on like real, like basically on paper.
Yeah.
And I think that transpires too with like
It
gun ownership and like a lot of stuff because
yeah.
people actually might say that they hate it because they're friends or they're against it
Mhm.
because their friends or their circle is. But then they're on the side, they'll be like, what? But I really want you to know I do, and I just think it's so crazy. It's crazy.
The gun world is a crazy world, I will say that, and, I mean, even in amongst the people that agree wholeheartedly with gun ownership, I mean, that's another onion entirely,
Well,
but
I do think that I mean, like everything, I mean, there's probably never going to be any table that everybody is going to sit down at and agree 100% solely with each other on everything. I mean,
mhm.
even people that agree on peace. Well, yeah, I agree on peace, but this is the peace that I agree. What this is the type of
I
peace I'm
like this
talking about. But
particular brand of
yeah,
piece,
but I and it's
TM.
like, well, but, like, isn't it this? It's just like, well, no, because you have to factor this, that,
Mhm.
and, and there's so many different, like you said, layers to things
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's like, it would be just be nice if people watching this podcast can, like, have an open mind and just, like, even if you don't agree with gun ownership, realize that not everybody that has a gun is owns them because they want to do damage, like you said. Like
Mhm.
I think that was really crazy what you told me though. That guy came into your store. What did he say about what was the word
Oh,
that he used?
assault weapons.
I would never say, "Oh yeah, I own assault weapons." Like, I mean, to me that is like almost like me saying that I'm
I
going
don't
to
have
do
anything that can fire that fast, unfortunately.
I think it's kind of radical that people's brains go there though. And I definitely get judgment all the time from everybody. So that's why I'm doing this because it's like people are going to judge me anyway.
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, I mean, even
who
to that
cares?
extent, like, if I've had people call me up and ask me if we sell assault weapons, and, because someone I've had people call me up, like, "I'm looking for a machine gun or an assault weapon," and I was like, "Okay, well, do yourself a favor, and the next store you
Mhm.
call, try using something other than the word assault weapon,
Assault,
because you
yeah.
sound like an asshole." And they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "That's not what we refer to them as." "Well, what do you call them?" I'm like, "An AR-15, an AR, modern sporting rifle, whatever you wanna call it." But, it's kind of I hate to say, I can hear the California in your voice when you say it, but that's what it sounds like to us. And, I had one guy get almost I don't know if he was offended or just surprised because I said, "Don't call it that." And it's not that it's a dirty word, I don't care. It's just that we know what your mindset is when that's the wording you use, and it's like, yeah, we don't really wanna do business with you because are you gonna come in here and make a problem for me? Are you going to heckle me? Are you gonna complain about what I sell or try to make some sort
Mhm.
of political stand against, like, "Oh, well, you're selling these things." And I'm like, "So."
Well, I mean, I think that everybody should have the right to form the opinions that they want to have. I think
Oh,
people
yeah.
need to have the freedom of speech, the freedom to be able to make their own decisions
Mhm.
if they are capable of doing that. Like you
Yeah.
said, I know that there are some people, and my heart goes to people because I do think that we are living in such a hard time as far as mental awareness, and there's so much misinformation out there. That's why
Twisted information.
I'm so happy that you came on to kind of help set what the guidelines are and that not anybody can just walk in and buy a gun. And just because you do own a gun doesn't mean that you're a conservative or this or that. I mean, there's probably more likely
Oh,
that
yeah.
certain people of certain organizations will have that, but I feel like these stigmas that we have and that
Oh, yeah.
these media tries to make things out to be, or because I'm on I really hope people that do watch this, if you follow me on my podcast or on my social media and stuff too, thank you. But like, just understand why I am carrying too. Like, I mean, if you're
Mhm.
going to judge that and zoom in so close to my video, but if people want to zoom in and they want to judge and they want to look at things close, I mean, but
Mhm.
there are reasons that that I do carry, and I'm going to continue to
Yeah.
carry. I'm going to continue to practice my own freedom, my own rights. I'm going to always have the freedom to talk to whoever I want to.
Mhm.
and all different sides and aspects of people, and I hope that everybody else can do that too. And I'm
That's my
really
hope.
I'm glad that you're able to be open and come on here and talk about this. I think it's actually a really cool thing, but it's also really kind of a scary thing too.
It can be.
Well, do you so have you ever gotten any kind of, like, threats or anything like that? Do you well, I'm assuming because 'cause you're a guy people I mean, just kinda like if you see for this is fake, by the way, this is not real, but I don't care if it was,
It's
but this
Costco for each
yeah,
$1.95.
but, like, you get, like, the PETA they're like, animal it's like, "Oh my gosh, I love animals, like, get away from me," just 'cause they
I love animals
what it
too.
yeah,
Chicken and beef
yeah.
and bacon. I don't eat dogs. I don't
Yeah,
think they taste good.
yeah.
But, no, and there's I don't know where we were going with that, but yeah, there's
The the hate do you get hate from people about what you do?
so not exactly. So oddly enough, the one time that I got kind of an aggressive response to anything was a few years back. We had an audit from the ATF, which they're allowed to
Mhm,
go through our books and see what, make sure that all of our paperwork is in order. Well, I caught the auditor doing something that she should not have been doing with our paperwork. She was making copies with her personal cell phone. We all recorded her doing this and we posted a video about it. Well, that video went viral. I got pulled onto various other shows and did interviews and whatnot. And of course, that brings national attention to my store. And to a certain degree, a lot of people were very, very supportive because, we started a basically like a GoFundMe or Give Send Go, whatever, to kind of like
mhm.
because we had to get a lawyer to fight this. People were very, very helpful with that, very generous, and for that, I thank all of you guys if you donated because, yeah, we wouldn't have gotten that as far as we did. We did actually win against the ATF's
Good
audit
job.
decision because they tried to
Okay.
come after us and revoke our license. That said, we did have errors. We made a lot of changes to make sure that we wouldn't have those errors again. But it wasn't about my errors, it was about her conduct that was the problem. And I had some really interesting, I had people that were calling and supporting us. I had other people that were getting royally aggressive over the phone about how dare you betray your customer base and let them copy all those records and like people like yelling at us as if we had something to do with what she did. And I'm like, what did you want me to do here?
Yeah,
Like I know what you want me to do. You probably shouldn't say that over a phone, because it's, that will be
yeah.
used against you in court someday. And that was the thing is that a lot of people were very, very angry about that at us because we let it happen. And I'm like, I recorded it. This happens at every one of your stores. You just don't hear about it. And that was the big, like the throwback message that I gave to everyone else. I said, look, if you don't want this happening, go to your local gun store and support them. Make sure that they know that you support them because that's what they need. They need to know that you are there to back them up against an overreaching government agency. Now, some people took that to, like I think some people like heard that message and understood it, but I got a lot of weird mail too.
I bet.
We actually kept a lot of them because I had some that one of them, it was like a multi-paged thing with, like, drawings and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it looked like it was written from the inside of an insane asylum,
Oh my
and,
gosh.
like, I mean, you wanna talk about next level conspiracy theory stuff. I mean, it was like, I for argument's sake, I couldn't quote exactly what's in there, but, like, imagine them bringing up, like, aliens, Freemasons, iconography, Kabbalah, and, like, the government shadow government, like, all doing all this stuff and making this
Right.
multi-page letter, rolling it up into a small mailer envelope, throwing, like, 3 stamps on it and sending it into the mail, and we get this, like, giant envelope. We're opening it up, and we're like, "Wow, this is gold."
Yeah.
But, it's kind of weird to say, but yeah, the gun community, or I guess elements within the gun community that I would
Mhm.
say are generally conservative, they would call our store and like scream and yell at us because we let this happen. And I'm like, everyone's letting it happen. We just actually recorded it. And so, I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes to what's the reality of gun ownership, the gun industry. And on the positive note, because of how public we made that, it is actually now part of the ATF's Academy curriculum and like ours is a case study within their curriculum, including our video of what we took of them and whatnot, and what we said about what was happening. And their message is like, okay, taking what this guy is saying at face value, without qualifying who I am or what I've done in the past, because I did work for the government for 10 years, without taking that into account. How bad does this make the ATF look? And how difficult is our job going to be moving forward if everyone sees us as this adversarial government agency that's just looking to like make a registry of gun owners. And so they have changed their policy quite a bit. And I will say that like our subsequent interviews with other agents have been a lot more positive because they're more oriented towards, cracking down on the criminal element of stuff. Cause again, being right here in Arizona, right next to Mexico, there's a lot of stuff that's finding its way into Mexico.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so,
Makes sense.
at least the people that we work with now, that's their focus, not trying to see like, you wrote the wrong letter here. And now, we're going to take away your license and your ability to do business and collect all this free data for us.
So if you don't have a concealed weapons permit, when can you carry? Can you still open carry whenever without a concealed
The
weapons permit?
short answer is yes, but there's places where it's not allowed.
Okay.
And so
Alcohol, state
places that serve
offices,
alcohol, yeah,
things like that.
there's a handful of
Okay,
locations and
schools, churches, like
churches are not banned.
oh, they're not.
Churches, banks, liquor stores, gas stations,
You can carry there? Thought
most
you
part, yeah.
couldn't. Okay.
Unless they have a sign that says no.
Okay, for some reason well, I'm probably thinking of California because I know
Ca
California, you really
California
can't carry anywhere. Like,
California,
you just
yeah,
it's like
no.
you have one and you lock it up and you keep it in your trunk, like,
Well, and
pretty
to kind
much.
of call back to some of the things that you mentioned before where you said you
Yeah.
should have a reason.
Yeah.
The reason I diverge from that mindset is that California, as a state entity for the longest time, when granting concealed weapons permits, you had to justify why you needed a permit.
Well, most of the time they wouldn't like, I have friends that are realtors and they're
Mhm.
women, beautiful women. And, there's a lot of fear. Like, I was in the real estate industry too for quite a while. And I would say if I ever got back into being a realtor and I was showing
Mhm.
homes, and I know that they've cracked down on laws a lot more too, and you have to like, schedule your showings and things like that. But still, if you're holding an open house, if you're a woman, if you're by
Mhm.
yourself, like, I don't care what state you're in, I would say probably better. I feel safe carrying, but
Yeah.
like, I have so many friends that want to carry because and they are on all different sides of the political side.
Mm.
But California won't even give
Yeah.
them the opportunity to. And I feel like that's safety. I mean, as a female, there's certain jobs that I think that you should be allowed to carry, but they
Right.
won't. They
And
won't
and I
even.
and I understand the want there,
Mhm.
but again, we've come to a point now where the state can qualify whether or not I have a legitimate reason to carry a firearm for my own safety. And I think that's a little bit too dystopian because it's determining that what I do somehow determines the level of threat that I am likely to
Mhm.
engage in and whether or not it is worthy enough to exercise my right to defend myself. And that's kind of where I draw the line is that it's not the government's choice about whether or not your life is worth defending.
Yeah.
That should always be your choice.
Well, especially
And
if they're defunding police and there's not enough police to protect you.
well,
So, I mean, like,
it's not the
it's
police's job to protect you though.
no,
That's
it's not.
another misconception. I will say that there are people that will make that effort, but by and large, the function of police departments is to enforce the law. Protecting you is a secondary, and it's not even a necessary secondary. Their job is to enforce the law. There are actually court cases that support that particular. They do not have a responsibility to protect your life
Okay.
unless it happens to be that they are stopping the commission of a crime. So yeah, it's kind of messy in how that's written out, and I don't hold that against police departments
No, not at all.
because it's not that's the way our laws are written. That's the way the policies are written. You
Well,
know,
I was even told in California now that like, police officers can't even a lot of them can't even carry anymore.
I have no idea about
I
that.
don't know, but I heard that and I was like, "That doesn't sound right. That sounds kinda
I
odd."
I've seen some rather odd pressures put on police departments here and there. My cousin's a police officer in Pennsylvania, and he was trying to their department banned a type of body armor because the body armor was designed to look like a t-shirt for the police officers, where it's got like
Yeah.
the pockets and
Yeah.
stuff. So that way it blends in with the uniform. And they were discouraged from wearing that because it puts the armor on the outside. And now it's like you're putting the armor out front. So it shows that you're in aggressive posture because you have body
Oh,
armor.
okay.
And I was like, it looks like a dress shirt. What do you mean
Yeah.
it's aggressive?
No,
I'm
I
like,
mean, I understand the
versus our
reason.
guys, our
Yeah.
sheriff department carry plate carriers,
Yeah.
Molly kit and everything,
Yeah.
magazines on the outside. And it's like, "That scares you?
No,
Okay.
I understand the reason, I guess, why they would say that, but that still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Think that if it's protection, they should be able to wear it, especially if they're a police
Mhm.
officer, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I mean
I just found that sometimes you get people that have ideas that aren't really well fleshed out and they're
mhm.
not based in reality, they're based in feelings. And, where you're worried about how a police officer looks, they might look too aggressive versus they're wearing protective gear because it's part and parcel to their job. And that I looked at people the same way. I will say that one of the dirtiest words that gets tossed around a lot, usually by government employees, is the word civilian. And I will preface this. Once, when I was still in the army, I had a police officer refer to me as a civilian. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm a soldier in the United States Army. Like, well, right now you're a civilian. I'm like, except I'm not. I'm always a federal employee right here, right now. I technically have arrest authority. But being referred to as a civilian, it's more of a pejorative term, honestly,
Mhm.
because they are differentiating that I work for this government, so I have authority and you are a civilian. You do not have authority. And when you start to pick apart phrases when someone says civilian, it almost always comes with this kind of diminutive connotation that, like, they're looking at you like a child. And I find that to be the most disgusting part of any of the government rhetoric is that when they refer to us, the citizens,
It's like a
as civilians,
condescending type
it's
of
always condescending. It's always
it's a very
condescending. It's so, and when I hear someone who works for any layer of government, whether it's municipal, federal, state, refer to someone as a civilian, if you're not using it in the polite, like in our case when we were in the army, civilians on the battlefield is a consideration,
mhm,
because there's soldiers versus civilians.
mhm.
We are combatants versus non-combatants. That's why we're spreading the two apart. It's not a matter of like I'm looking
A
at you as I have
superior
authority.
yeah.
It's that you are not a threat to me. Whereas in government roles, it's used to determine who should have what.
And so it's
And
almost like a snobbery of like,
yeah,
"I'm better than you because I'm here
yeah,
and
I
you're
have
just
this
here."
dignity
Yeah,
of the office, and I
yeah.
am therefore afforded these additional things that you should not have because my
I
life is
just
worth more than yours.
it seems like the more we go into, like, topics, and I'm not saying you and me, but I'm just saying in
Oh,
general,
yeah.
like, just as a society about, the government and all of it, it really is so sad to me.
Mhm.
For when we were growing up, I just had such a level I was like, "Oh my gosh, a police officer, cool." It was like, "Oh, a firefighter,
Some
so
people were waving
cool."
the American flags for at the
Yeah.
little city
"Oh, we're
parade,
gonna
huh?
go to a parade and get candy from the firefighter. Oh, there's people riding
Yep.
horseback at the parade. So cool." And now it's like just everyone's like this. There's no
Mhm.
level of respect.
Yep.
I'm not saying that there's no level of respect. I shouldn't say that, but it just feels like our community that should be supporting on every single side. I'm not saying I don't care what team or whatever you're on. I don't care what gender you are. I don't
Yeah.
care what anything. I just think that we should have a level of respect for the people that really are putting their lives out for our safety,
Yeah.
just in general. That for
Yeah.
you,
The
thank you
public
for your
servant.
service.
Yeah.
Like for any I mean, any state worker, like any union members, I mean, the lack of respect I see too when I go places and, like, I just see, like, I used to bartend and I was a server. I was in the
Mhm.
service industry when I was, in college, and I just see people now, they don't tip, they're super disrespectful.
Mhm.
They are demanding of, like, and I'm just going like, "Wow." Like, if I was a server now, number 1, I would be, like, fucking a badass, like, server and bartender, and I would own this shit, but, like, number 2, like, I would have no problem telling people to fricking leave if they were going to treat there's just such a level of disrespect and, like, just polite values just in general right
Yeah.
now, and it's really sad to see that, and I
It's
really
very detached.
if I can say anything about, like, having my own children, I mean, I wanna raise them where they do. They love the police force, they love the military, they love all of it,
Mhm.
they're little boys, they're super excited, they're very active, and they know what guns are. They know they're not supposed to touch them. We never have them in their reach. We are very safe about all of that. And
Have you taken them shooting yet?
no, at 6, I think that we wanted to wait till they're a little bit older just because 'cause
Mm.
we're not and I mean, if we had more of, like, a ranch and stuff, then, yeah, we would have been doing a lot more,
Yeah.
but no, not here. We're kinda more in, like it's getting more city here and stuff, and no, I don't feel like they would BB guns, salt guns, stuff like that, yes, but as far as, like, giving them any sort of no. Not yet, no. I think we'll have to take them to, like, one of the ranches when they're
Mm,
probably, like, maybe the next couple years, we'll take them to one of the ranches and
mhm.
get them out there and start shooting and stuff with them and hitting
Yeah.
pop cans and
Oh, yeah, you
doing
gotta shoot
target
soda cans.
yeah, doing the target practice and all the fun stuff. Yeah, I just the manners and the lack of respect, I mean, especially in the cowboy community too, like, I
Oh,
just see
really?
the yeah, and the cowboys, like, people just treat them like shit now, like, it's just like and everything
Oh, because they look at it as, like, manual labor kinda stuff or something like that?
yeah, I mean, there's just yeah, it's just weird. I mean, the just a lot of different a lot of the different sides of things that I think. I mean, I've never put myself in a box as like this person, a surfer or a cowgirl or this or that. I like to
Mhm.
say, I like to just like do it all. I just that's who I am.
Yeah.
I can shoot a gun. I can freaking skin a snake if I needed to. I can, I can do
Barbecue.
quite yeah,
Yeah.
I could do quite a few different things, but like I just yeah, it's really sad that even like talking to you and I'm hearing you saying that you're getting like a disrespect too, like from the own like state officials and things like that,
Mm,
from other different sides. It's really sad to see all of the lack of attention that we're really putting towards the stuff that we should probably be trying to fix as a community and
yeah,
like people and
the
a
small level
society.
stuff.
Yeah. And instead of like this tearing people apart all the time and I'm on this side and anti this and anti
Mhm.
that, and like start community driven
Yeah.
conversations and like why we disagree on things. And it's okay if people don't want things. That's totally fine too. If people don't agree with things, like, they don't want
Yeah.
to have, then don't have one.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You do you
Yeah,
over there.
yeah,
I'll
yeah,
do
stay
this
in your
over here.
lane. Good. So they and then I lastly, I guess what would you say you own your own gun store, you've had it so over 12 years now, right?
Mm.
So what would you say was the hardest part for you getting started in this industry?
Well, getting started was weird because we started off home based, and the
Mhm.
bigger problem is that when you're home based, your windows of opportunities with certain brands is very very small
Okay.
because a lot of brands won't even talk to you if you're based out of your house. Distribution will close off to you. Like you're kind of restricted. So when we went from garage days to our storefront, it
Mhm.
ballooned out huge. Because now I could get all these other distributors that had better prices, better selections. I got set up with a bunch of different accounts with different brands directly, and we were able to kind of like expand those. The downside, of course, is that we did that during like just after COVID and materials were still difficult. So we
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
exactly like have
Supply and demand.
we had access to all those things, but
Mhm.
we just didn't have the ability to get them, because it wasn't there. So, climbing up that ladder was kind of crazy because we were just at the right place at the right time.
Mm.
We had a store, we had a proper internet presence to at least put us, pin drop us on the map. And people could find that there was a gun store in the area. And when COVID happened, people saw these videos of, lines a mile long outside of like big box stores. So rather than sit in line wearing a mask and social distancing and everything else that went with that, they would call us up and be like, "How long is the line at your shop?" And we're like, "There's no line.
Mhm.
I'll be right there." So they'd get in their
Yeah.
car and they'd come on over and then they would see what else we did and it just kinda like drew them in. And so we just ran that way for a while. And it was kinda crazy for me because, you get in this kind of funk where you're working your 9 to 5 and everything's kind of boring. And then all of a sudden everything ramped up. We were working probably double overtime at that point.
Oh, wow.
We were originally working 7 days a week. I think we were running 10-hour open for 10 hours,
Okay.
7 days a week.
Wow.
And then um, we obviously we burned ourselves out, but I mean that's just the hours that we were open, and then because we would wait until the doors locked,
Mhm.
then we would start working on all the things that we had played catch up with. We'd be there till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
just working on people's guns that they brought to
Mhm.
us. They're like, "This was in my grandpa's closet. No one's ever fired it. Can you tell me if it works?" And half the time it wouldn't, so I'd have to fix it. So we'd do all this work and then we get it back to them the next day. And we just do that over and over and over again. But that basically ground us into dust because we were just pushing so hard. And then finally, we said, okay, we're going to start taking Sundays off because,
Family day.
very
You need
well, not even
time.
a family day thing. It's just we needed a minute,
Yeah, you need time.
And I mean, we did try to spend it with family, but it's like we needed to do laundry,
Mhm. Yeah.
And then eventually we shaved an hour off of our opening time because we were working so late that we wouldn't get up in time to open the door. So we moved it and closed down, opened an hour later. And yeah, the cycle just kind of went. And then eventually we started giving each of us a day off. So we were only working 5 days a week. And then one day the traffic just stopped.
When was that? What year was that?
This was at the end of 24.
Okay.
Like we ramped up for Black Friday and like nothing happened.
Oh, wow.
And we looked at our numbers and we were at like 40% of the year before's numbers for that entire month. And we looked at that and went, okay, that's not good. And then on top of that, we were renewing our rent and our rent had gone up by about 50%.
Oh, geez.
And
That's
so this number went way up and this number went way down.
mhm.
And those 2 numbers could not meet in the middle. Like, we looked at our profit and loss and looked at the numbers, and we went, "There's no way to make this even sustainable at this point."
Well, do you think that that's because so many people from this area that are from here probably are leaving here too because the growth has been
So,
coming in so much
there's
and
a handful of layers involved in all of that. So, the gun industry is a very odd market because on the one hand, it's local. But it's also national, and to a certain capacity, it's also global. Our ammunition is sourced from all over the world. Certain guns are sourced from all over the world. At the national level, if we ramp up for a certain conflict, particularly with like AR-15s, certain parts might go missing because they're being used for domestic production of arms. If there's an embargo or like COVID, especially, we had a lot of problems getting guns from Europe. There's a lot of
Mhm.
brands, Heckler and Koch, Glock, CZ, all that comes from Europe. And
Mhm.
then we have the American brands, Ruger, Smith& and Wesson,
Smith
Colt,
and Wesson,
to name
yeah,
a
yeah.
few. But like Colt, for instance, and Daniel Defense, those are both government contract companies. And when they're filling an order, they don't sell anything to the civilian market, or at least not as much. So
Mhm.
that means that all of that goes dry. So everything going dry at the same time, aluminum was difficult to get, ammunition prices went through the roof because the way our economy with ammunition works is we have domestically produced ammunition,
Yeah.
brass, lead, powders. Well, there's also foreign produced stuff that comes from Eastern Europe, stuff that comes from China, Russia. Well,
Mhm.
we put embargoes on Russia because of Ukraine. So now we're not getting stuff from Russia, which also means that European countries that are using Russian powders and Russian primers are also not getting their stuff. So we're not getting their ammunition. And China, we angered China. So now they don't want to make powder or primers for us either. So now we're not getting that. So everyone says, well, why don't we just make this domestically? We do. And the factories run 24/7. The problem is that it runs 24/7 for this amount, which is their entire market share. And then when everything over here disappears, they can't just double their footprint because now you're investing all of your money back into making more. Well, what happens when this comes back? Now your number's gone back down to here, but I spent this much to get there. So the gun industry as a whole tends to move very slowly because there's a lot of stuff that's globally traded. There's a lot of stuff that's centered around elections. Election years drive sales. Black Lives Matter riots drove sales. COVID drove sales.
I would say so from what I was told too, like, because I grew up and my family's in like large land development, right? So
Mhm.
like they sell recreational lands. I was always told we're gonna do way better.
Mhm.
Like, whenever people say, "Oh my gosh, 9/11 happened,"
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world," they were going 2010, it was gonna be the end of the world. I mean, like,
Yeah.
every 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 years or
Yeah.
something, there's, "Oh my gosh, an apocalypse is gonna happen," or,
Mm.
"Oh, we gotta go build a bunker." Having a lot of land, like, our family, sells we have, uh a lot of land in the Okanagan, East Okanagan, I was told that we're always going to do better. And it's true. Like historically, we do extremely well. Well, like you're saying, assuming the gun market's like that whenever it's like apocalypse type
Oh, yeah.
moments, because that's when people go, oh, I'm selling my house. I'm going to go buy land and I'm going to go live off the radar,
Yep.
because the grid's going to go down. We pissed China off and
Yeah.
they're going to turn our electricity off. So,
Yep.
oh my gosh, we got to go and get everything has to be
Got to get off-grid
solar.
solar.
We
I've
have
got to
to
get
go
my own
this. We have
well
to go
dug.
buy
Got to have my
land.
my own
Yeah.
septic system.
Yeah. And then people do that and they live like that for like a year and they're like, okay, I can't do this anymore because
Time to go back to
yeah,
suburbia. Yeah.
exactly. It's kind of crazy. It's a push pull, right? So yeah, no, I totally get that. I get how the industry would be like that. And today, how is business right now? Are you evening back out? Is it doing okay? Are you
It's okay, I guess is a fair way of phrasing it. My morning commute is a lot shorter and, I mean, which is convenient because gas is over $5 a gallon right now.
oh, that's
So
insane.
I get about 12 miles per gallon. So
Yeah.
it's real fun to drive that thing around as minimally as possible. But, I mean, I don't get a whole lot of new customers anymore because again, there's a bit of a stigma when you're working from home. Now, incidentally, because I had the store for so many years, I have my Google profile has a bunch of pictures of our store.
Okay.
But then they look at the Google map pin drop and they're like, "Wait a minute, that's
Mhm.
not that."
But
So,
can you still get pretty much like, so say I call you, you know who I
yeah,
am. My husband calls you and say,
mhm,
we want X, Y, and Z. We're taking our kids hunting. We need to
yeah,
have these types of things, or not things, these guns, because we're gonna, go here or whatever. Are people able to order through
yeah,
you, I guess?
absolutely.
So you can still take orders even if you don't have what they're looking
Yeah,
for. You are the one that if they are able to pass the background, you're able to get them what they're looking for within reason, I'm assuming,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Now, the downside is that the internet being what it is, you still have large online retailers that they're still beating me even with what I can get, which it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's like
But,
if somebody wants something now and
yeah,
you can get it for them and they're local,
yeah.
rather than wait, 6 weeks to get it cheap on the internet, right?
Yeah,
I
and
mean, yeah,
if you don't wanna wait for the Memorial Day sale or whatever,
yeah,
on top of that, because what I do is a little bit more specialized because I do a lot of the gunsmith work as well. A lot of there's a lot of times, like, particularly hunting rifles, seems every year someone gets a first time tag for elk.
mhm,
The first thing they do is they go buy a 7 millimeter Remington Magnum rifle that they take out and they shoot it for the first time, and they realize the recoil is horrendous, and they want me to thread it so that way I can get a muzzle brake put on it and try to tame it. Um, so, like clockwork, rather than just buy the right rifle, they buy the cheap one, realize it's painful to shoot, and then decide that they need to change it.
yeah.
Half the time they bring them in, the scope's mounted all weird.
So
So,
what about someone do you trade guns or someone says, "Hey, do you do stuff like that with people?" Like or
I'm getting into that slowly, but that's a weird market right now because like the cost of rent and mortgages have gone up by so much in
Mhm.
this area that I get a lot more phone calls of people trying to sell me their guns than buying.
Well, you're not a pawn shop. So
But
say
that's the thing
yeah.
is that there's also not very many of them left out here because they all also closed their doors. They just start calling whatever gun store they can find that still has a Google listing. So, I'm slowly getting back into that, just because it's a slight opportunity,
Okay, I have a
but
question for
it's
you
messy.
because we just got one. We just purchased one from you, but what's the difference between the a I'm gonna butcher it. I know what it is, but the AR is it the AR-15 or whatever
Mhm.
what we just got from you that you were saying it's not I'm not gonna call it an assault
Assault
rifle.
weapon.
No. But we did get one from you. And
Yeah.
like so is that considered a machine gun?
No,
No. So
not at
what's
all.
the difference between that and a machine gun? The machine gun has the magazine, you pop into it, right? And like I just see it like Rambo. I think of Rambo as like machine gun.
Okay. So the actual legal definition of a machine gun is it discharges more than one round per single function of the trigger.
Okay.
So a machine gun means that you have to pull the trigger and two or more bullets come out the end.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as soon as I let go of the trigger, it stops. So single function of the trigger itself, not the rest of the mechanism, but the trigger. If
Mhm.
I pull the trigger and more than one thing happens, it's a machine gun. So what I sell is semi-automatic. Translation, I pull the trigger, it goes bang once. You have to release the trigger and then pull it again.
Okay, got
So
it.
every time I pull the trigger, it fires. Now, there's some other categories in between that without going into like engineering, like
Yeah,
levels of,
yeah.
it's fairly simple explanation. But the way that the law is written is single function of trigger. Pulling the trigger is one function of the trigger. So if I pull it and it goes bang once, single function of trigger. If
Okay.
I now release it and it goes bang again, that
Mhm.
is a second function of the trigger, which means that it is also still not a machine gun. And
Okay.
that's where binary triggers come in. You pull the trigger, it goes bang. You release the trigger, it goes bang. Those are also perfectly legal. And then there's another category of like forced reset triggers and super safeties where the trigger itself does one function, and there's another mechanism that basically forces the trigger out. So you
Mhm.
are pulling it again, but a mechanism is assisting with that motion.
Okay.
That is also not considered a machine gun because the trigger function has to change as it goes.
Okay, got it.
So it's,
So that's the difference between the okay, that makes sense, and I was just
yeah,
wondering because I always thought of it like, I think of, like, 007. Remember the
yeah,
Nintendo 360?
of
I used to
course.
love playing that game, by the way,
The
back in the day.
N64.
Oh, man,
Yeah,
I'm like
GoldenEye.
I was like, "Oh, yeah, I was
The
a badass."
RCP-90 was that crazy, like,
Oh, yeah.
chainsaw of machine gun
That's
just
what I
spraying.
think of when I see it. I was like, "Wait, we just got that's like a badass that's like
Yeah,
a 007 type gun." So,
mhm.
okay, I just wanted to know. So it's not I think of that as like a machine type. It's not.
Well, in the context of that game, when you pull the
Yeah,
trigger and it just
yeah,
sprays, yeah,
yeah.
that's a machine gun. Now, that said, there are plenty of legal avenues to get the rate of fire close to that without
Uh-huh.
it legally being classified as a machine gun.
Okay.
So, that's actually a big hot ticket item right now. Unfortunately, a lot of people are finding out that their really cheap product that they bought off of a certain really well-known online retailer, um, is not quite up to handling that level of excitement. And,
So they jam a lot?
it won't necessarily jam, but it will actually malfunction. It can break down quicker.
Okay.
So that's what I do is I make sure that it keeps
Primarily, what
going.
would you say the gun that we just purchased from you or that type of gun is used for?
Early
Mhm.
shooting.
Yeah, but
Um,
shooting what? Like
well, I would
hunting?
say that probably 99% of the time it's probably used to shoot at paper targets or steel targets. Obviously, there is a stigma involved with them being used for things like mass shootings, and as much as each and every single one of those is not supposed to be a thing, statistically speaking, it's a very, very unlikely scenario. So, I mean, on the whole, from the thousands of guns that I've sold, 0 of them so far have been used in a mass shooting. And I know this because they do traces whenever one goes up.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I do get a phone call. And so, to say that I'm contributing to a global pandemic or whatever of mass shootings, that's proven false right there.
So my thought on that, and this is just a thought, and it's just like an
Mhm,
opinion, but is that as a parent, we have a responsibility to teach our children. And of
mhm.
course, they're going to rebel. I was a rebellious kid. I
Yes.
mean, we're always we're always going to have, those few bad apples. And as a parent, my heart goes out to you if you have a child or a loved one that is just not able to quite fit the bill and make it, but I really don't think that that should be a reason for us losing our rights because of a decision that somebody makes, and usually they don't even purchase them. It's like, maybe they're grabbing their parent,
Mhm,
or they were and at that point, I mean, I think it's sad, it's out of control. I mean, some kids just know where they are, some kids are upset, they get mad. I mean, I really think that it's just more of a community driven thing for us to share the responsibility and trying to educate not just each other
mhm,
as a gun dealer when you're going and you're purchasing something like I am, and I haven't shot that gun yet, so I'm
mhm.
excited to shoot it, but to learn about what about when a like, this is a badass gun, I'm super
Yeah,
excited to have it, but like,
yeah.
what am I going to be using it for? Like, where's my they have I know where we're gonna go shooting. I know where, but
Mhm.
just making sure that you are equipped to own what you do. And that's in anything, whether it's guns, knives,
Mhm.
archery, whatever. And I
There's definitely a community disconnect that I see a lot more common these days. So, I was a freshman in high school when Columbine happened. That was
Mhm.
like everyone's first
Yeah,
dose of a mass
I
shooting, a
remember
school
that.
shooting.
Yeah.
I have been wearing all black since probably the 7th or 8th grade. I was a little goth kid in high school,
So people
you know.
thought you were, like, part of that
Oh,
trench coat
they
mafia
100%.
or
No, like,
something, or
that
you were
was I was dialed in completely.
yeah.
And
Martin black boots, combat boots, and
combat boots,
yeah,
yes, not Doc Martens.
but
I never liked the yellow laces on the Doc Martens. But
but
yeah,
yeah, that
definitely
with
that
the
aesthetic,
trench
you know, still
mhm,
do own trench coats,
mm,
plural. You know, and but but there were more layers to that. Yeah, I was a little goth kid. You know, I had the trench coat, you know, I was into all kinds of macabre stuff, played Dungeons and Dragons and whatever with all my other nerd friends and whatnot. But the other layers to that, you know, we'll go back. I had my father who taught me all kinds of stuff. You know, he was very active and involved. You know, we went camping, motorcycle riding, dirt bikes, obviously how to use guns, respect for firearms. We went dove hunting, duck hunting, deer hunting all the time.
mhm,
I had my ROTC instructor. He was another father like figure in my life. He was
mhm.
very mellow person, very funny, but a very good man. And then on top of that, I was also in the Boy Scout community to where I was surrounded by other dads that were doing the same thing. We're camping, we're going out on camping trips. We're all using firearms and archery and whatnot. And we're all learning skills and we were involved. Those were parents that were involved in my development as well as the people around me. And that was the part that didn't get talked about. All they talked about was like, "Ah, this little kid wearing a trench coat in
It
school,"
was
you
a
know?
stereotype.
Oh,
There
yeah,
was you
yeah, you
were
know,
part of a
and,
stereotype because
you
of
know,
the Columbine thing, and I remember that. I remember that was, like, a very
but I think that's kind of like where I'm seeing that there's this breakdown that we're getting from society. Boy Scouts has been stigmatized.
yeah,
OTC and sacrifice and service is you get this like wave of people that are like, the government sucks and, you know, fascist this and fascist that. And it's like, I was there to serve my community in whatever capacity I thought was the right thing. You know, I joined up right after 9/11. You know, because again, I thought I was doing something for my country. And that mentality seems to have broken for a few years in the middle. I think it's coming full swing back in the other direction, but there's still the damage has been done. You know, the Boy Scouts has not retained its reputation. You know, people still scream fascism whenever they see uniforms. Everything is so wrapped up in social media now. Like we try to get our kids to go outside, but outside for us right now, you know, I grew up riding dirt bikes in my
mhm,
backyard. I can't do that where I'm at. If I want
yeah,
to take my kids out to go riding, I got to put all that in the back of the truck and I got to drive 45 minutes out into the desert to find a place to go. And then I find out that like if you go through mud now in Arizona, like that's a fine. Yeah, like you can't go too fast, you can't do
yeah,
donuts,
it's
you can't
just
go jumping off things.
yeah,
They want to treat everything like it's a trail bike. And I'm like, I don't have a 450cc sport bike so I can go ride trails. I have this so I can tear some stuff up. But my kids can't learn that now, you know? So like we have to like go way off grid to hide so they can go ride around and have a good time. You know, like that's a level of effort that like we didn't have as a kid, you know? Like we literally just hopped on it and went, you
yeah.
know, it was no big deal. You know,
So do you
our
think that we're trying to be as, like, a society then, like, from the gun community and things like that, do you think that we're trying to, like, slowly be controlled and, just, like, in our
I think a
environment, or
lot
do
of
you think
people are trying their best to get out of that environment because the number of people I have saying like that they have property somewhere else, the number is getting bigger every
mhm,
single year. Is like, yep, I bought 30 acres up in, you know, these woods over here. I got 80 acres in this spot over there. And yeah, and like it's a more and more common conversation to have. And a lot of those people I think really just want to like, you know, not trying to like bug out, but just bugger off. I wanna go on vacation. Just get up there, put out the RV, put out the camper tent, whatever, and just
disattach? Yeah.
just go, you know, no cell service, just relax.
Mhm.
And I think there's
So what are the rules about, like, okay, so there was the guy we were living in San Diego at the
Mhm.
time, and remember that military guy? I think yeah, we were still in San Diego. This military guy, he was a Marine and he was driving into Mexico. Do you
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
And he had his gun and he forgot that I don't know how you would forget, but like, and especially going into Mexico. But aren't I thought you could like can you bring them into other or fly them in and things, or how do you travel with
The
guns?
sh
How does
well,
that work?
so domestically or internationally?
Well, domestically, you just have to like,
Yeah, domestically, you
yeah,
just
you have to
declare it
have
to
a,
TSA. It
yeah,
has to
and
go into your checked luggage.
yeah,
It's supposed to be signed in and signed out by
yeah.
you at customer service. Sometimes they screw up and they put it on the conveyor belt. As far as internationally goes, that usually involves the State Department to a certain capacity. So my dad and his hunting partner, they had specific 12 gauge shotguns that
Mhm.
they would drive down into Mexico, Baja,
Mhm.
Mexico, California, or Sonora, wherever their campground
Mhm.
was. And they would go dove and duck hunting down there. And we would have to go through and they had specific paperwork for Mexico side and specific paperwork for the American side. And they would have to like make sure that everything was all in order and that their license was up to date. I mean, it was this long, sometimes it was a little bit more involved of a process, but
Yeah.
they'd have to declare it and they go down there and they go check through the boxes. But there are people that go on like safaris in New Zealand and Africa and stuff like that. And I think in some cases they can bring their own rifles. In some cases you have to basically rent one or something. I mean, I've never actually traveled outside of the country with anything.
Okay.
Well, I take that back.
Well,
When I did,
when
I
you
was on
were
a
in
military
yeah, you
charter
were in the
aircraft.
military, so that's well, no, I'm just asking because we do travel a lot, and there are times where we're like, because I am
Mhm.
starting to have, like, more of a presence at times, and I'm actually been getting some death threats too,
Yeah.
believe it or not, which is kind of I was like, "Oh my gosh, don't be mean, don't come for me, I swear, I'm, like, not
It's like
bad."
a
Like,
badge of
yeah,
honor. That's how you
yeah,
know you made it.
well, that's what my
Someone
friends
is
are
so
some of my
interested in
friends
what
are
you have
like
to say.
yeah, they're like, "Jen, that's a good," and I'm like, "No, I don't wanna have kids, like, please don't do that to me." Like, no, you can come after me in comments, go for it. Opinions, please. If you're mad,
Mm.
you wanna come talk about it, I'll do a podcast with you for sure. Like, I'm nice, I promise. We don't do that here. But, yeah, no, there's just been times where we're thinking and I'm like, maybe I mean, that comes with a whole different scope of things like
Mhm.
security and stuff too, but
Yeah.
I mean, so you can travel. So people but I do know in the States because we do hunt and like I
Mhm.
have family and we have my stepdad has a ranch in Eastern Oregon. And so I know that he checks his guns and stuff like that when he travels. And
Mm.
yeah, I've never had to, I always just drive with him. But
Yeah, there's every country that you are talking or like involved in it is gonna have different rules.
mm.
I will say that there's a good likelihood that some of the things you might wanna take out of country are not gonna be okay. We do have a fairly
What, like
unique
I
gun
can't go
culture.
to London and bring my.
Definitely. You can't bring
Just-
a pocket knife into London,
yeah,
let alone a gun.
just
Um, yeah, no.
that's so sad.
So, there's definitely different types of travel considerations depending on where you're going. We've talked about going to like the Caribbean for a quick little vacation with the kids, and then we start realizing that we can't bring anything there.
Mm-mm.
And part of you wants to separate yourself just enough to say, okay, I can relax out here. And then like some terrorist will blow up a port or a dock or something like that at like a sandals resort. And you're just like, oh, okay, never mind.
Well, hey, okay, so here's the flip side on that. So, the whole Mexico thing that happened in Puerto Vallarta, right? Like on
Hmm.
the 22nd. And yeah, there was so much stigma and so much of it's like AI now. And how do you know what's real and not? And like, I was like, look, I am not going to not go. Like, I
Yeah.
was like really depressed about it. I'm not going to
Yeah.
lie because we go there every year. It's like, Todd and I just had our 10-year thank you from when he proposed to me. Our 10-year anniversary is actually in July. But still, I was like really, we look forward to it. Our kids
Hmm.
love this place. Like it's kind of like our magical spot that we go
Yeah.
to and we love it. So I'm like thinking in my head, I'm like, I know locals there. I have a rancher. He brings me his horses every time we go. I mean, I really love it. I love the community there, the people
Hmm.
there. And look, there's going to be violence no matter where you go.
Yeah.
And I don't ever, I'm
There are
never
certainly
one.
degrees, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna be traveling to certain countries right now in the Middle East, but I'm just saying, like, but yeah, so we still win, and I got there and I'm asking like the locals and like our friends and stuff, and they're like, Jen, literally, it was, I was like, we got off the plane, okay, and
Mhm.
in the airport, they show that there was like a bombing and planes were getting
Yeah.
bombed. It was all AI. I really, we landed, I was like, babe, where's the wreckage from, like, 2 weeks ago? They couldn't have cleaned it up that quick. Like, I don't see any, like, marks on the cement and so we get to the resort. It was so clean. It was actually nice because there was not very many people there because so many
Yeah.
people were canceling their trips and stuff. But when I talked to the community
That's an
about it
opportunity right there.
yeah, right? And so they're like Well, what they did, because the military came in
Mhm.
and caught one of their guys or whatever, and, that wasn't great for the cartel and whatever, but what they
Mhm.
did was actually a peaceful protest. It's worse than, like, Portland, Oregon, and Minnesota. They're, like,
Yeah.
laughing at me going, like, "You think it's like, there's actually people dying in your country." Like, no one actually died here, like, this is
People
a
went to the hospital, a
yeah.
guy lost a finger, but,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a regular soccer game in Brazil.
Yeah, they're like it was literally, like, so peaceful. There were, like, 3 buses that blew up, and they actually unloaded the buses, though. They actually came and they unloaded everybody off the buses.
Everybody off. We're trying to make a statement. We're
Yeah,
not trying
pretty
to make a
much,
mess.
though, and I was like, "Oh." I mean, I'm like, "Okay, it was like that." I'm like and they're like, "Yeah, they're not gonna come in here and, like, what do you think?" And I was like, "Okay,"
We
so
definitely have a different brand of violence in America versus, like, certain other countries,
yeah.
and I'm not saying that, like, we have, like, top tier, but, like, there's definitely a different expectation of what goes on when all these things go sideways in different countries versus, like, what happens here, like, European shenanigans, like, they'll drive tractors in the middle of town, to,
Mhm.
like, block roads,
Yeah.
to protest what's going on with their farmers, or, my favorite one is when France was having all of their protests and whatnot, they rolled out an actual guillotine, but, like, when someone got hurt, everyone got off the street so the ambulance could drive through the middle of it. Like,
Exactly.
we don't get
Yeah.
that here.
No.
'Cause there's like a different level of consideration. It's like, we're
Yeah.
here to make a statement, but we're not here to inconvenience anyone quite to the same
Yeah.
capacity. And then you have, like, cartels in Mexico hanging bodies off the freeway. So, like, there's quite a broad contrast that we're dealing with, because, like, we don't have, like, we're leaving bodies hanging out in public kind of violence in the United States, but at the same time, we're also not, like, super polite about it. It's
Mhm.
like metalhead mosh pit rules. If someone goes
Mhm.
down in the mosh pit, we're gonna pick you up. You're gonna go back to moshing. You might lose a tooth or something like that, but no one's gonna break a bone, or at least hopefully not. But,
Actually, I did get stuck in a freaking Metallica
oh,
mosh pit.
darn.
No, 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 no,
What
no.
year was this?
2000. It was the Up in Smoke tour.
Okay, so that may have actually been a crazier event
Oh,
because
no, it was like okay, so
my wife and I saw Metallica, like,
it was
last year when they came through, and
no,
everyone there is,
this
like,
was
geriatric Gen
oh,
X and
no,
stuff
no,
like
no,
that,
no.
so
So this was
there's no
where
there.
oh, yeah,
We
no,
were throwing
this
beach balls.
no, it was the Up in so it was like Dre, Eminem when he first came
Oh, wow.
out. It was
Yeah.
Kid Rock back in the day when he had that little guy,
Oh, the midget.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Rage Against the Machine, like the
Yeah,
whole
that sounds dangerous.
so we were all up there in the front, like Snoop, we're like all like, yeah, and then all of a sudden Metallica comes on and all of us girls get stuck in and
Oh,
all of
just
a sudden
crushed
these
against the banister.
oh my gosh, the guys were like picking us up and throwing them on their head. I
Yeah.
was like, it was insane. Like I had never been in a real mosh pit like that, but I think someone died.
That one, I think I
In
remember.
2000, it was in Seattle. It
Yeah,
was at the
that was,
Seattle Center. Someone
can't
died in that one. It was pretty
I wanna
aggressive.
say
They
it was, like,
quit.
during Beastie Boys or something like that. Like, it was.
Yeah, it was Beastie Boys was
Yeah,
at that
like
one.
someone
Yeah,
went crazy,
yeah,
like, someone got crushed against
yeah,
the guardrail up
yeah,
front or something like that
yeah.
because the
I
crowd
was
rushed.
up there and
Yeah, I
they
remember
got, yeah. And so we're talking about the mosh pit. This is trauma for me. I need a
to,
teddy bear.
I went to the Real Steel tour with, Pantera, Slayer, Static
Okay.
X, and it was at it used to be called America West Arena. I don't know what it's called now, but
Mm.
it's that one dome building before they made the Glendale Arena. And the entire floor was general admission. So we had general admission floor tickets. And for Morbid Angel, Little Mosh Pit, Scrape, which was a band that I'd never heard of and haven't heard of since. I don't even think there was a mosh pit. Static X, they're a little too trippy. There was a
Yeah.
mosh pit, but it's mostly just people, like, swaying in circles. Slayer, of course,
Yeah. That's yeah.
you can't have Slayer without some people getting hurt.
Yeah.
When Pantera hit, the whole floor turned into these vortexes, or vortices, I don't know what the proper
Yeah.
plural of that
Yeah.
is, but there was mosh pits that were about 50 feet across, at
Eh,
least 2 of them on this mat because it's a hockey arena
yeah.
otherwise, and, like, just this big swirl, and I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like, "I have made a glorious mistake," because back then I was about 140 pounds,
Oh,
five
geez.
six, five
Yeah.
seven.
Well, they get
Again, little
crazy.
goth kid.
Yeah.
And then you've got, like, 400-pound Navajo Indians and
Mhm.
200-pound skinheads and everything else just, like, swirling around in circles, and I'm like, "I'm going to die." Best thing I could do was just kind of, like, relax a little bit And that way, at least if I got bounced off of someone, you just kind of do the drunken master thing where you're just kind of like bouncing off of people
Yeah.
instead of trying to like brace for impact, because then you just hurt yourself. Made it out of there just fine, but it was, you can only do the mosh pit for so long until you're exhausted from getting slammed around. So you pull off to the side, wait a minute. My buddy's in the middle of it. He had a concussion,
Jeez.
and not from that event, but he had a concussion from prior, and he's in the mosh pit. And we're like, just wait for him to go down so we can pick him back up and drag him off the
Oh
floor.
my gosh.
He
Those
survived.
mosh pits are
Oh, it
crazy.
was great.
That's insane. Talk about a rush.
Yeah, no, my wife and I went to go see Slipknot in like the end of 2014, 2015 or so.
Okay.
Of course, not realizing that I'm older, I was like, yeah, I'm going to jump in the mosh pit.
No,
I made
no,
it through
not these
like
days.
half of one song and I was like, I'm never doing that again.
No.
And yeah, so every show that we've been to since then been stadium seating. That's fine.
No, it's like going tubing, right? You're like, oh, when you're a kid, you can do the whip it and you're flying
Uh,
all over the tube.
oh, yeah.
Now you go on a tube. We were on a tube and he was trying to pull that shit on me. I was like, I swear to God, if you freaking do that to me again, I couldn't walk. I was like, all like, I felt like I got
Just
in a
bounce across the water. I
yeah.
regret this
I'm like
instantly.
holding on still too. And I'm like, why am I still holding? I'm too scared to let go. But I'm getting like just trashed around. I
Get
was
one
like,
and your
oh,
fingers are stuck like this
yeah.
for the rest
Oh
of the day.
man.
And
I'm
you're like,
like,
I need
you
you to
no.
peel my fingers off, but
Yeah.
I can't hold on.
Got in like a car accident, you know? I
Yeah,
was like, no, I'm good. We're too old for this stuff.
yeah.
Well, Dave, I'm really excited for your business. I'm happy that you're able to come on here
Thank you
and
very much for having me.
educate us and hopefully get some awareness to gun ownership and the Second Amendment and
It's worth it. Responsibility is awesome.
well, and just being able to have the freedom to have a gun, and if you don't want one, then don't get one. Um,
Well, it's about the freedom of taking control of your life, your destiny, and everything around that you call your own. Because, it doesn't matter how many you have if you're not going to use them for the right reasons. So, get trained, learn a few things, and, take control of yourself.
I love that. Well, Dave, thank you for being on the podcast today. And one more time, where can people find you?
I am Dave at Black Metal Firearms, and right now I'm working out of my garage in Castlegate.
And you have an Instagram.
I have an Instagram. I have a Facebook, Black Metal Firearms. I don't know exactly what to add. I think it's just at Black Metal Firearms.
Okay.
Anyway,
And
look
we'll
for
go ahead and
look for the little Chaos Star logo. It's in there somewhere.
yeah. Well, we appreciate you. If anyone has questions and are considering if you're local or if you're not local, please reach out to Dave and I will link your information.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you much.